All right, Shalom. I want to start by saying, Halal, Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles of Israel, aka the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and love to all the Akim. Continue to preach the truth and all truth and sincerity. All right, so there's a little couple things I was reading today, and actually what sparked this is basically as far as biblical scriptures tying into secular history. All right, so that's actually through the spirit of what brought this on. It's through the spirit of Yahawah Shemel Shai, the one true living God. But when I was thinking of that, I was actually I started looking up Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and I went to Daniel because like first I went on Wikipedia, and then I went on this spot called Britannica. Now Britannica actually mentioned more scriptures and mentioned Daniel. Wikipedia mentioned roughly, it said like it said he was favored amongst the Jayish community. Now that's probably assuming that they mean the small hats, but it never really once mentioned Daniel's dream. I mean, not Daniel's dream, Nebuchadnezzar's dream, when Daniel broke it down in Daniel's second chapter. So I find that interesting that they didn't mention that. But when you think about it, it would make sense that they didn't mention it, because when you mention that dream, the breakdown of that dream that the Lord has expounded to the prophets is that at the end is the Yahawashi bringing down this present-day kingdom of Esau. You know what I'm saying? With the toes and all that. If you just plenty of videos breaking that down, but that's not really what I want to get at, because the dream breakdown in itself is great, but I'm talking about how the dream is not even, that was Wikipedia and Britannica. They not once mentioned the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had, and that he was sending a bunch of, he was sending a bunch of people to get the breakdown of the dream, and ultimately it came down to Daniel giving him an interpretation of the dream, which was an Israelite. And I found that interesting, but also, I was, when I was initially reading, was First Maccabees, the 7th chapter. Now that's as in part of basically the war things that was going on with Judas Maccabees against Antiochus. So that's another people that's mentioned secular history. Antiochus, the Greek Empire, Roman Empire, so on and so forth. The Babylonians, which Nebuchadnezzar, Babylonian Chaldeans. These are all people that's in secular history that's also mentioned in the scriptures. Now, another thing, when I was reading First Maccabees, the 7th chapter, it went into when I think the dude's name was Nicanor, which is, I believe, a general. Nicanor, he came because I guess Judas Maccabees was giving them problems, and they got this guy, and then Judas Maccabees, the Lord was with them, so they started getting at them. But it said that initially, a lot of times when they sent people to Judas Maccabees, they sent them to they came with deceitful words. Like they came sounding friendly, but they were words of deceit. Now, also, when I read that, it made me think about Trump. When now he's the president, he said he's the president of peace, but he just changed. What is it? What did he change? Was it the Defense Department? The Department of Defense? Whatever, he turned it, and now it's called the Department of War. But you said you was bringing peace, but yet what he's been doing has definitely been more so in the line of war, not peace. Now, also, we know why that is, but it's the fact that when he came speaking double-tongued. He said, I'm going to be a president of peace, I'm going to end all these wars, but yet you're just along the war with the rest of them and just preparing America to get into these wars. Because now America is deploying nuclear subs more and more. Now America is talking about we're preparing for war. But you said you were going to bring peace. Now, I'm reading this article. I'm going to get into the scriptures, and Lord willing to be edifying. So, this is from the New York Times, and I'm surprised they didn't fucking have it to where I could read it, but I guess, whatever. So this is from the New York Times, this is from the thumbnail. This is from the New York Times, and this is from September 6th, which was yesterday, all right? And it says, President Trump's renaming of the Defense Department comes amid his campaign for a Nobel Peace Prize. On Saturday, he wrote on social media that Chicago was about to find out why it's called the Department of War. Now, this is in regards to with the whole thing with sending the National Guard into a few cities where there's high crime rates. But we all know what that's about. That's basically what Esau coming down with that new world order, the NWO. And he's going to use what he's going to say in the name of to stop crime. But where's he going? He's going to a bunch of Israelite neighborhoods. Now, you just had something happen in, I think that was in Georgia, that Hyundai factory, where they said a lot of those people that was detained and whatnot were South Korean nationals. And somehow they came to a fast agreement to release them. But yeah, here it is. When it comes to Jake, y'all throw the book at him, and then that's it. There's nobody to defend our cause. We don't have no nationals to defend us. Remember, we're prisoners of war in America. We're still slaves, even though much our people don't want to admit it. But anyway, it says in his campaign for a second term, President Trump promised that he would get and keep the United States out of wars. See that? Keep the United States out of wars. Now, as of now, he hasn't kept that promise. All right. And if anything, he's gone against that promise and put America in more war. All right. And it says in his inaugural address, which I saw that, it said he wanted to leave a legacy of unification. And after just under 8 months in office, he is openly campaigning for a Nobel Peace Prize. But this week, Mr. Trump sent a conflicting message. The president of peace, as the White House branded him, signed an executive order to establish a Department of War. Now, hold up. Let's go on a quick preset real quick. We're going to go into the book of Ecclesiastes. Was it chapter 7? Oh, excuse me. That's chapter 3. My bad. That's the... Now, there's the book Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1, and it reads, it says, I'm reading the NLT. It says, for everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven. Now, is it not the earth under heaven? All right. And I'm reading King James too. It says, in the King James of Ecclesiastes 3 and 1, it says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, which basically sounds the same. So, no, I'm gonna read on down. So this the verse 2, it says, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up. Now here it is, you got America building a lot of shit, but America is also being broken down. Because remember, Esau thinks that he's going to rule forever. He thinks that he's not going to go down. But that's the deception. That's the Lord deceiving with their own delusions, or strong delusions, that their houses shall continue forever, but it's not. This is verse 4, and it says, a time to kill, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. Now, these things that talk about are comparisons. You can't do these things at the same time. You can't rejoice. You can't laugh in a time of war. You can't rejoice in a time of war. And right now, we are in a time of war. And the time of war we're actually in is the third war, which is World War III. All right? Where all the worlds are going to come together and go to war with nuclear weapons. And before that happens, you have all this chaos. You have all this the division. You have all this basically this diplomatic chaos. Because if you to Trump tell it, they'll make it say everything's okay. They're never going. But you hear this. You got these other countries like Switzerland. You got France. You got all these countries talking about preparing for a time of a very, very apocalyptic event, which is basically going to be this nuclear war. Just like you had the whole thing with the French hospitals telling them to get ready for an influx of injured soldiers in lieu of a conflict with Russia, which is going to take place. Because why? It's prophecy. And that's why you have this guy, Trump, as much as you talk about, I'm going to be the time of peace, I'm going to be the president of peace, so on and so forth, but look at his actions. Yeah, remember it says actions speak louder than words. So his actions are pointing to what he's getting ready for a war. So now I'm going to jump down to verse 8. So this is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 8. And it says, a time to love and a time to hate, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I looked at verse 7 as well. So this is Ecclesiastes 3 and 8. It says a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. You can't have war with peace. Remember that these things are antonym to each other. They're separate. They're like actually opposite. And as of right now, people are not people are not loving, and people are hating. People are not at peace, but people are at war, and more war is coming to fruition. That's why you have all these countries sending all these nuclear submarines and all this weaponry in different spots, including America, Russia, China. You had China parading around their nuclear, not nuclear, but just their parading around their military and their military weaponry and arms, weapons. Russia, North Korea, Iran. You still got the small hats over there fighting with the Palestinians over there. Russia and Ukraine, they're still at war. You got America over there in the Red Sea at war with the Houthis. So it's not no peace right now. You got shit going on within America. You got a bunch of family members unaliving each other. You got a bunch of political dividing. You got a bunch of Esau and Jacob. That hatred still runs rampant. So what do people talk about? It's a time of peace. This is not a time of peace. It's a time of war, and it's a time of hate. It said what? And the scripture said that the love of many shall wax cold. So it can't be a time of love right now we're in. I mean, look at the things that's happening. You just had a man shot his son and paralyzed him for eating his food. Now, granted, his son shouldn't have ate his food, but damn sure he didn't have to shoot him. And now he's paralyzed. And it's an influx of things going on to show what time we're in. We're in a time of war and in a time of hate, man. Just like how Trump, all these motherfuckers coming against the prophets are being hated. We're being hated for pushing the words of YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. We're not getting love from the world. The world is not in a loving mood right now. All right? I'm reading that in the NLT. So this is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 8. And it says a time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. It's worded exactly the same way. So that goes to show it ain't really much. It is what it is. Now, Yahawashi, he's going to be the king of peace. He's going to be the king of righteousness, not no damn Donald Trump. Because, like I said, actions speak louder than words. And if he's talking about he's the president of peace, well, where's the peace at? It's only gotten more chaotic. It's only gotten more war. So let me go back to that article. Okay, so it says, continuing on, it says the change, this is from the New York Times. It says the change speaks to the contradictions in Mr. Trump's presidency and the image he projects to the world. On the one hand, seeking a, on the one, it says, I'm gonna read that again. So it says the change speaks to the contradictions in Mr. Trump's presidency and the image he projects to the world, right? Contradicting. It says, on the one hand, seeking the ultimate prize for peace, while at the same time promoting a far more aggressive use of U.S. military might. He even suggested in a social media post on Saturday morning, which was yesterday, that he would go to war with the city in his own country where he has threatened an immigration crackdown. He said Chicago was about to find out why it's called the Department of War, along with 3 helicopter emojis. But who are you talking about peace? Now he's going to say, well, we're trying to stop crime in these areas because crime is so wild over there. But so now you're basically saying that you're about to come to war against a city in your own country. And you know who that's going to be targeted to most? Jake, Israel. The whatever town, whatever area they go in Chicago, New York, is going to be what? Where predominantly Jake is residing. Because why? It's all set up by design. Remember, Jacob's trouble. It is now the time of Jacob's trouble. This is the time that's coming. These devils getting all this shit ready with the CHIP, the new system, the new financial system, the 2030 agenda. All these things is happening because why? These prophecies are coming to pass. It says, asked on Friday. Now remember, this is this Friday that just passed. These are not old articles. This is a current event. These are current events that are taking place. It's so much happening day by the day. It says, asked on Friday about how he squared his Department of War with his push for peace, Mr. Trump did not see contradiction. So that's in a prideful state of mind too. Because he don't think, in his mind, he thinks he's doing everything right. Remember, he's a puppet. But, you know, to perception is that he don't think he's doing nothing wrong. He not once has said that, yo, he's made a mistake or whatnot. He said he thinks everything he's doing is right. And let him think that. All right? Because at the end of the day, YAHAWASHI gonna holler at you too, Mr. President. YAHAWASHI. The one true living YAHWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI gonna holler at all the kings of the earth, man. That's why you gonna shut your mouths at him. All this talk of peace, all this bullshit you be saying, all this bullshit, all y'all niggas be saying. It's all gonna come to naught. It says, I think I've gotten peace because of the fact that we're strong, he said. Mr. Trump claims to have solved at least 7 wars, a statement that requires context. It says, Mr. Trump said he had revived the name used for the nation's original defense agency just until just after World War II because it better reflected the country's fighting capabilities and sent a message of victory to both allies and enemies. And what time are we in right now? World War III. Yeah, World War III was what? World War II was what, like 80-some odd years ago? But now what? We're in World War III. It says, Mr. Trump, who was granted 5 deferments from being drafted to fight in Vietnam, including for a diagnosis of bone spurs, said that the country had never fought to win a war after World War II when Congress renamed the Department of War the Department of Defense. It says, critics say the rebranding exposed the hypocrisy behind Mr. Trump's promises to bring peace. There you go. Land of hypocrites. So this is a U.S. news media, the New York Times, that said basically he's being a hypocrite. So it says, critics say the rebranding exposed the hypocrisy behind Mr. Trump's promises to bring peace. He ran as a supposed anti-war candidate, but has proved to be just the opposite, said Matt Duss, executive vice president at the Liberal Center for International Police. This stunt underscores that Trump is more interested in belligerent chest-thumping than genuine peacemaking, with dangerous consequences for American security, global standing, and the safety of our armed services. Now, you can go also into the terrorists. Because it said the American security and global standing. What is a lot of things? What's happening also right now within the world? You got a lot of these other countries swaying away from the U.S. dollar. You just had in Kenya, they're talking about doing something with transferring their debt or something to the effect from U.S. dollars to the Chinese to the yuan. So that's why you talk about the national security and the global standing of America. Because right now the global standing of America is in the shitter. And so no matter what he says as far as like, oh, we're trying to do this and trying to do that, but it's what is actually the results of what he's doing? It's causing the world to sway away from America. Which in turn is why the Lord said what in the scripture, which America represents Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon, and said Babylon is fallen, it is fallen. And it can't be healed. That's raining hard as fuck. Shit. It says only Congress can change department names, so the title is ceremonial until it's codified into law. Mr. Trump had ordered. Now, mind you, over this last bit of time, from what I last heard, Congress have been behind what Trump is doing as far as most things. So, if they're not with it, the events still remain the same. The war still is brewing. World War III is still going to happen. Nuclear war is still going to happen. No matter what you name something, no matter what you're saying. All right? Okay, so it says Mr. Trump had ordered the federal government to recognize it as a secondary name in addition to having Secretary of War serve as a secondary title to Secretary of Defense. The measure had drawn the support of some Republicans in Congress. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, Republican of Oklahoma and member of the Armed Services Committee, praised Mr. Trump and his social media post for ending wars. It says ending in all caps. It says not starting them, and said that renaming reflects the seriousness of this national security mission and return to our military history. Your military history? I mean, you about to not have a military soon. Remember, yeah, when YAHAWASHI comes, oh, speaking of which, let's get that real quick. Because remember, we're no matter how much people believe it or understand what's really going on, but we're at the end of an age. We're at the end of an era. military history. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 34, verse 1, and I'm going to read this in the NLT. It says, "Come here and listen, O nations of the earth. Let the world and everything in it hear my words. For the Lord is enraged against the nations." Now, Esau, Trump, America, that's a nation with an army. And ultimately, it's Esau. So all these nations, these EU, NATO, Russia, so on and so forth, is all tied under the house of Esau. But they all have armies. And it says, "For the Lord is enraged against the nations, his fury is against all their armies. He will completely destroy them, dooming them to slaughter." So you talk about going back to your military history, you're about to not have a military soon. You're about to not even have a kingdom. You're not about to have no country. You're about to have nothing. You're about to have nothing. What do you think this nuclear war is really going? What's going to be the aftermath of this nuclear war? There's no more America, and it's going to be no more reign for Esau. Because once the nukes take place, once all this shit and everything that's meant to be destroyed is destroyed, what's going to happen after that? YAHAWASHI is going to take over. There's going to be a sequential of events. The nuclear destruction, then and in the midst of the nuclear destruction, YAHAWASHI comes back. And he becomes the dictator. He becomes the ruler on earth. And who's going to be ruling alongside with him? The elect of Israel. The 144,000 with the elect. That's going to be the new governing body. That's going to be the new military. Ain't going to be no need for actual military because the nation shall learn war no more. That's another way how we know them cocksuckers in Israel right now are not the true Israelites. Because right now the nation's still learning war. They're still preparing war. So you can miss us with that shit. The prophecies are speaking, the end is speaking, you're at your end, and there's nothing nobody could do about it. No matter how many niggas, no matter how many Israelites are on or bigging you up still. It's still, America is still going to be destroyed. So let me go back to that article. Talk about military, return to our military history. It says, Colonel Larry Wilkerson, who served as chief of staff to former Secretary of State Colin M. Powell, said that the name change underscored the shift in the military's approach from defensive to offensive. The new posture could be seen in a deadly strike on a boat that U.S. officials said was carrying Venezuelan drug smugglers. In that operation, Mr. Trump used the military in a way that had no clear legal precedent or basis, according to experts in the laws of war and executive power. So basically, they're trying to say what Trump is doing is going a little bit against the grain. Now, enough of this article. Now I'm getting to First Maccabees, the 7th chapter, because that's what really sparked this on. And when I read that, it made me think about Trump and this whole you're the president of peace, but then you got the you name it the Department of War. You're moving nuclear subs all over the place. It's a bunch of things happening to clear evidence that this is not a time of peace and it's not a time of love. Damn, where was that at? Let me get to the point. I don't want to make this too long. First Esdras 7. No, not First Esdras, First Maccabees. I don't want to get into the whole chapter. I want to get into the key verses that I guess it started right here. Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay, here we go. Here's the point. Now, this is First Maccabees, the 7th chapter, and I'm going to start at verse 27. No, actually, verse 26. It says, Then the king said Nicanor, who was a general, and I believe the king was Antiochus. So it says, so Nicanor came to Jerusalem. No, excuse me, verse 26 of 1 Maccabees 7. It says, then the king sent Nicanor, one of his honorable princes, a man that bare deadly hate unto Israel with commandment to destroy the people. So these are Edomites, heathens, that's going there to go to, their goal is to go to war against the Israelites. What's happening right now? What is Trump talking about doing right now? Coming to war against the Israelites, man. He's already at war with Israel, because look what he's done against the northern tribes. All this ICE shit, all this deportation shit, that's war. You're at, and that's war within the U.S. soil. And war against who? The Israelites. Because what? You had ICE fucking went to that Georgia, the Hyundai plant in Georgia, detained a bunch of whatever South Korean nationals and let them go. I ain't hear them saying nothing about letting go none of the quote-unquote northern tribes, the so-called Latinas, and the Hispanics. I never heard them bringing none of them back. They made a deal with South Korea real quick, right? But anyway, so it says, yeah, then the king sent Nicanor, one of his honorable princes, a man that bare deadly hate unto Israel. It says deadly hate towards Israel. Unto Israel, says, with commandment to destroy the people. So that wasn't a time of peace either. That was a time of what? War. All right. It says, verse 27, it says, so Nicanor came to Jerusalem with a great force and sent unto Judas and his brethren deceitfully with friendly words, saying, see there? And that goes with Trump. His words are deceitful, but sound friendly. See, that's what it said. What does scripture say? Hold on, let's get that real quick. Was that 51? Hold on 1 second. Hold up. Bear with me. Oh, shit. Hold up, man. What is this? What was it? 50? Is it 50? Hold on 1 second. I can't. Or is it 151? Oh, no, one. Hold up. Because I'm brain freeze. I'm forgetting where that's at. I know it's in Psalms with words smooth as butter. Fuck. Oh, come on. I hate this. $55. I know it's 50 something. Okay, here we go. So this is Psalms chapter 55. No, that's not it. What? Oh, 21. Okay, so this is the book of Psalm chapter 55, verse 21, and it reads, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. And Trump is a clear example of that. All these people, Russia, all these nations, man, they all all fall under the line of how wicked Esau is, but it really talk about Esau because these other nations probably really want war, and they're not, and they're just moving accordingly to what Esau is doing, how Esau is moving, mainly America. All right. It said the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they drawn swords. And that's really their intent. Their intent is to be violent. Their intent is to be violent. Hey, going back to the man Esau. He was on some deceitful shit. He made a deal with his brother and then tried to go against it. I'm reading that in NLT. This Psalm chapter 55, verse 21 in the NLT. It says, his words are as smooth as butter, but in his heart is war. His words are as soothing as lotion, but underneath are daggers. It said his words are soothing as lotion, but underneath are daggers. So that's what Esau really about. He'll say one thing, President of Peace. I'm going to bring peace. I want a Nobel Peace Prize. This, that, and the third. But yeah, we're going to name the Department of War. Yeah, we're going to send those nuclear submarines over there to China, to the Pacific Sea, over there to Russia. Oh yeah, we're going to send it. Tell all our Pacific allies, get ready for a possible conflict with China. Your actions and a lot of your words, you saying President of Peace, but all of your actions is not declaring peace. And the whole world now is seeing it, and now that's why this is a new U.S. news media that's saying that the president is contradicting himself, which goes into what? More divide within Esau's kingdom and within America's government, and just the American country. Period. The people and the government, because a lot of Edomites are feeling feeling it in a negative effect what Trump is doing. Look at them farmers. And they said 70% of the farmers voted for Trump. And now look what they're going to. Talk about we're going to need assistance from the U.S. government. Well, no, why don't you tie up your bootstraps and deal with it like you told us to do some years ago. How about that in the time of the 60s and 50s? Pull up your bootstraps and get to it. What you need the federal government for? Did your forefathers build this country? What do you need the government for, nigga? And on top of that, with all the deportations, all of the workers that you farmers had that were now illegal immigrants, I guess. And now all these farmers are feeling the pinch about to go under. They said, within a short amount of time, they're gonna be completely destroyed. If the government don't hurry up in the system. And remember, that's agricultural. That's where we get our food from. That's a major part of the American structure. Because a lot of people aren't farmers. So you have a certain amount of farmers in certain regions of the earth that supply America. Like you have a lot of people don't have land enough to farm, to grow their own shit. Most U.S. citizens don't have farms. All right? So I'm going to read verse 22 as well, because that's the time we're coming into, because Esau soon enough is going to come down more and more harder on the prophets and the believers, just like in the time of Nero, who brothers through the Spirit believe that's who Trump is, come back in the reincarnation. And it makes sense by what he's doing. All right? So this is Psalm chapter 55, verse 22, and it reads, cast thy burden upon the Lord, YAHAWAH BAHASHAM. He shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. And that's coming to, we're going to have to keep that in mind in a time of that great persecution and a fiery trial, especially when the devil brings in the MOTB. And he's going to cause it, no man can buy or sell if he'd had the mark, just like he did with the sticky stab. You couldn't get into buildings. You couldn't go back to certain jobs. People forget like this devil's already done things to that nature, but it's just going to intensify. It's going to get worse. All right? I'm reading that in NLT. It says, give your burdens to the Lord, and he will take care of you. He will not permit the godly to slip and fall. And that's the time we're in right now. Because we're going to be coming to a time where it's going to be easy to slip and fall. That's why the Lord said, well, I shall sustain thee. He said, I will take care of you. And that's the words we have to continue to keep in mind. The YAHAWAH BAHASHAM will take care of you if you believe and keep the faith. And how's one thing to keep the faith? Keep pushing his word. Keep believing. Keep being brother. All the things that's pleasing to the Lord, keep doing it. That's all we could do. And in due time, when all hell breaks loose, the Lord said, "What? I will sustain thee. I will take care of you." When his devil comes down here with his daggers and his swords. And when I mean his daggers and swords, with all the oppression he's going to bring to the prophets, man. Forget about the 2/3 of non-believers. Talk about the Israelites that believe. The elect. That's what the Lord is caring about right now. That's what the Lord is going to sustain. Because in the kingdom, all Israelites are going to be good. But on this side, before the destruction comes, a lot of Israelites are going to be in a bad case. Because they loathe the Lord's law. All right? This is verse 23 of Psalm chapter 55. And I'm reading King James and NLT. It says, "But thou, O Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, shall bring them down into the pit of destruction. Bloody and deceitful men shall not live out half their days, but I will trust in thee." What keep deceitful? What did it say how Nicanor came around to Judas and them? It said he came what? With friendly but deceitful words. He sounded friendly, but he had deceit. He was coming deceitfully. Just how Esau comes to this day, this very day, nothing changed. To this day, they will still come with words as smooth as butter, but wars in their heart. Oh yeah, we're for the black jobs and but here it is. Look at it. Look what he's doing. Look what they're doing. And all Trump is doing is carrying out the mechanisms of the elites, the super elite Edomites, who also Yahawashi gonna holler at you too. I will trust in thee. So I will trust in thee. So what? We shall trust in thee. Who is thee? Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. The Lord said, put your burdens on the Lord. Because we're but flesh, we're but mortal men. We cannot deliver ourselves out of certain peril, out of said perils. All right? So this is Psalm chapter 55, verse 23, and it says, it's the NLT, "But you, O Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, will send the wicked down to the pit of destruction." And who is the wicked? Starting with first and foremost Esau, Edom. The elites at the top, and all the other house of Esau, and all you other nations, man. But mainly you Edomites. Because right now, this your world. So you're the reason why all this chaos and all the way things happen. Hey, look at look, you gotta go to the top. And who's at the top? Esau. It says, "But you, O Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, will send the wicked down to the pit of destruction. Murderers and liars will die young, but I am trusting you to save me." So what? We got to trust in what? Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. That's not trusting in no gun. Not trusting in no military. We don't have none of that. We don't have no weapons. We don't have no military, but we have what? We have the strong tower of the name of Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, which is the name of the one true living God, the God of Jacob. Who said he's going to what? You trust in him? He's going to keep you in the hour of temptation, which is rapidly approaching. But let's go back to this deceitful motherfucker. So I'm read that again. So this is First Maccabees chapter 7, verse 27. And it reads, "So Nicanor came to Jerusalem with a great force." So he came with an army and sent unto Judas and his brethren deceitfully with friendly words, saying, verse 28, "Let there be no battle between me and you. I will come with a few men that I may see you in peace." Now, this is the same God that said he had a great hatred towards Israel. He said he had a deadly hate for Israel. And now all of a sudden you come in like this with let there be no battle between me and you. I will come with a few men that I may see you in peace. Verse 29, "He came therefore to Judas, and they saluted one another peaceably. Howbeit, the enemies were prepared to take Judas by violence." Deceit, murderers, Esau. But what did Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI say he's going to do to those kind of men? What? Throw them down to the pit of destruction. That's what he's going to do. That's what he's going to do to all these Edomites, man. It don't matter if you got a few, I got a couple, it don't matter. If they come from the house of Esau, they about to get this work. If they're spawned from the seed of Esau, no place for repentance, no place for mercy. All right? It says, verse 30, and it says, "Which thing after was known to Judas, to wit, that he came unto him with deceit. He was sore afraid of him, and would see his face no more." Verse 31 says, "Nicanor also, when he saw that his counsel was discovered, went out to fight against Judas beside Kafar-Salama." It says, "Where there were slain of Nicanor's side about 5,000 men, and the rest fled into the city of David." So the Lord, Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, was with Judas. He's with Judas Maccabees. And Nicanor got he was put on to the deceit of Nicanor. And he slew. It says what? There were slain of Nicanor's side about 5,000 men, and the rest fled into the city of David. So he had him flee, had him run. It says verse 33 of 1 Maccabees chapter 7. It says, after this went Nicanor up to Mount Sion, and there came out of the sanctuary certain of the priests and certain of the elders of the people to salute him peaceably and to show him the burnt sacrifice that was offered for the king. It says, verse 34 says, but he mocked them and laughed at them and abused them shamefully and spake proudly. So what? The same thing these devils do now. You got these Jakes that come with peace, but what did Esau do? He laughs on the score, mocks them, takes some of them out. The whole thing with the so-called Native American Indians. They came to Esau with peace, and what did he do? Stabbed them in the back. Cause that's his MO. That's his nature, man. That's why the Lord said, what? Trust not thy enemy, for his iron rusteth, so does his wickedness, man. He always gonna be a wicked piece of shit. He always gonna be that scumbag. He can't go again. That's how the Lord, Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI created these devils to be. And our people keep thinking that some way he's going to change. No, he's not going to change. It's only going to get worse. All right? It says, verse 35, and it says, so this is Nicanor speaking, it says, and swear in his wrath, saying, unless Judas and his hosts be now delivered into my hands, if ever I come again in safety, I will burn up this house. And with that, he went out in a great rage. So he went out butthurt because the people he came to destroy got the upper hand on him. I think he's going to say it. It says, verse 36, it says, then the priest entered in and stood before the altar in the temple, weeping and saying, thou, O Lord, Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, didst choose this house to be called by thy name and to be a house of prayer and petition for thy people. Be avenged of this man and his host, and let them fall by the sword. Remember their blasphemies and suffer them not to continue any longer. And that's what we're saying right now. This goes out to the Edomites, the elites, and all that, Trump and all that, and says what? Be avenged of this man. Who is this man? Esau and his host, and let them fall by the sword. Remember their blasphemies and suffer them not to continue any longer. And where do you think we're at right now? At Esau's end. He should not continue any longer. Because after this war, after this great war, World War III takes place, Esau shall be no more. He's not going to rule over the Israelites. These other nations ain't going to rule over the Israelites. Ain't going to be no more captivity for the descendants of Jacob. We're going to be in the kingdom. Yahawashi, the star of Jacob's going to be back. And he's going to redeem his people, and we shall be his people, and he shall be our God. And Yahawashi is going to be on the earth, this very earth we sitting on right now. Actually, I can read a little more. Petition for them. So let me read that again. So this is 1 Maccabees chapter 7, verse 38, and it says, be avenged of this man and his hosts, and let them fall by the sword. Remember their blasphemies and suffer them not to continue any longer. Verse 39, it says, so Nicanor went out of Jerusalem and pitched his tents in Beth-horon, where an host out of Syria met him. But Judas pitched in Adasa with 3,000 men, and there he prayed, saying, O Lord, Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, when they that were sent from the king of the Assyrians blasphemed, thine angel went out and smote 185,000 of them. I forget where that's at, but that's also in the scriptures, where the angel went through and slayed the Assyrians. It says, verse 42, it says, even so destroy thou this host before us this day, that the rest may know that he hath spoken blasphemy against thy sanctuary, and judge thou him according to his wickedness. And that's what we say right now to these present Edomites, man. Remember their blasphemies. We call, we weep, we cry unto Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. Take these devils out, man. And he's taking these devils out by the day. It says, so the 13th day of the month of Adar, the host joined battle, but Nicanor's host was discomfited, and he himself was first slain in the battle. Now, when Nicanor's host saw that he was slain, they cast away their weapons and fled. So this Nicanor guy, he was a great man as far as like general and all that, and had a deadly hate for Israel. You know, the Lord allowed them to take him out, iced him. It says, verse 45, it says, then they pursued after them a day's journey from Adasa unto Gazarah, sounding an alarm after them with their trumpets. Verse 46 says, whereupon they came forth out of all the towns of Judea round about, and closed them in, so that they, turning back upon them that pursued them, were all slain with the sword, and none of them was left. Then what? This is in a time where Yahawah BAHASHAM was with those men. Just like he's spiritually with us now. See, he's telling us that our weapons of warfare are not carnal at this moment. At this moment, we're still at war through the Spirit. The Holy Spirit of Yahawah BAHASHAM. But soon enough, the Lord is going to give us power, and we're going to do our thing against these nations like Judas Maccabees did. And it's going to be in totally more advanced, because at this time, these are still mortal men. But their spirit was on them. Oh, shit. It says, this is 1 Maccabees chapter 7, verse 47. It says, afterwards they took the spoils and the prey and smote off Nicanor's head and his right hand when he stretched out so proudly, and brought them away and hanged them up toward Jerusalem. See? And that's why they took the apocrypher out. This is the apocrypher. This is why Esau took the apocrypher out. Because this, and it's funny because the apocrypher is when they first started ruling. So when Esau came into power, why you take out the apocrypher? You know, a lot of the apocrypher was violent too, but they don't go into a lot of the violent scriptures, because they try to paint a perception of the Lord that he is not for violence. But the Lord said what? He's a man of war. He's a God of war. When Yahawashi comes back, he says what? They're gonna make war with the saints, but the saints gonna prevail. Yahawashi is gonna prevail. So we gotta get on talk about the Lord is not about war, and the Lord is not about violence. There's violence all up and down through the scriptures. It says, for this cause the people rejoiced greatly, and they kept that day a day of great gladness. And that's what we're going to do when Esau goes down for this final time. We're going to rejoice. We're going to be immortals. We're going to have the power. We're never going to go down again. The prophecy is going to be set. The prophecy is going to be all came to pass. And then it's going to be what? The last prophecy, when the final prophecy, what? The start and never ending of the everlasting kingdom, which is the kingdom of Yahawashi. No more Esau. Esau going to be exterminated eventually. The nation going to be under Israel. And that's gonna be the way of life, and it's gonna be an everlasting kingdom, and that's gonna be it. So with that, gonna be no more sinning for Israel, no more Israel going off. We're gonna have the laws on our inward parts. We're gonna be good. We're gonna be good. We're gonna be great. It's gonna be just another day in paradise, how Esau like to say. So with that, Lord willing, this was edifying. I'm gonna give all praises to Yahawah BAHASHAM, Yahawashi, BAHASHAM Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles of Israel, aka the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and love to all the Akim. Continue to preach your truth and all truth and sincerity. Shalom.